In France, a sparkling wine labeled Champagne is a specific blend from the Champagne region. In California, Champagne is a generic term describing a wide variety of sparkling wines. It is by no means the only name, simply the most common. What is important to remember is that while the grape blends of the individual wines vary, all sparkling wines are made in one of three ways. The méthode champenoise, also called the original champagne method, the transfer method, and the Charmat bulk process. You'll need to understand these three processes because they are major factors in determining quality and price. To begin, no matter which process is used, all sparkling wines go through two fermentations. This step in all three processes is completed in large stainless steel tanks. The base wine is made like any other dry table wine. It is traditional practice to blend several base wines to produce the cuvée, the basis for the finished product. Then it's on to the second fermentation. If the Charmat bulk process is used, the second fermentation also occurs in the large tank, the quickest and least expensive way to make sparkling wine. If the method champenoise or the transfer method is applied, the second fermentation takes place in the bottle. To create this second fermentation, yeast and sugar are added to the cuvée, producing carbon dioxide gas, which is trapped in the container and absorbed by the wine, providing the traditional bubbles. But this step also produces sediment in the wine, dead yeast cells, which must be removed before packaging and sale. In the case of the Charmat bulk process, this simply means removing the sediment from the bottom of the tank. When the transfer method is used, the wine is drained from its bottle, sediment filtered, then the clear wine placed in another bottle for final packaging. Hence the name transfer. With the method champenoise, sediment removal must be accomplished while leaving the wine in the original bottle. This requires the time-honored skill of riddling, where over a period of weeks, sometimes months, the sediment is slowly moved to the neck of the bottle.
Riddling is a process to remove the sediment from secondary fermentation from the champagne bottles. It's a process that was developed in the early 1800s in France, and it's worked successfully since then as probably one of the best ways to clarify the bottle in preparation for the final labeling and selling of the bottle. The turning gathers up the sediment inside the bottle into a tail, which in turn I could move down the bottle all the way into the neck where it can be removed. The technique of actually turning the bottle, trying to turn every bottle exactly the same as the others, that's one part of it. Another part of it is looking inside the bottle and interpreting what is actually happening with the sediment, so I could gauge and do things to improve or speed up the process. I average between 10 and 15,000 bottles an hour, up to 50 to 60,000 bottles a day.
Then they take them into the disgorging room and freeze the neck of the bottle. That ice plug then, of course, traps the sediment, so you can stand the bottle up and it can't fall into the wine because it's trapped in this little plug of ice. Then comes the actual disgorging. Dégorgement is what it's called. La gorge in French is the throat. So what they're really doing is unthroating the bottle, okay? They just pop the top. And the gas, you know, all that pressure, there's about 6 atmospheres of pressure in a finished bottle of sparkling wine. The gas just, as soon as you loosen the cap, it just blows and forces that plug of ice to go flying out of the bottle, and of course that takes the sediment with it. That's how they get the sediment out of the bottle, riddling and then disgorging to remove it. And of course the wine stays in the bottle.
So those are the three methods of production. Méthode champenoise, all secondary fermentation and finishing steps completed in a single bottle. This is the most difficult and time-consuming, therefore the most costly of the three. The transfer method, All secondary fermentation and finishing steps completed in bottles, transferred from one to another for finishing. This also requires a good deal of effort, but is not quite as time-consuming or costly as the method champenois. And finally, the Charmat bulk process. Secondary fermentation in a large tank, the fastest and least expensive means of production.